Well, I was asked, what really are the issues that are remaining? And I thought I'd illustrate some of those issues with some video. So this is the door that goes into the garage. And this is an interior door. I have been told, but I have yet to confirm, that this door and this door should match. I have been told that you can get a fire-rated door like this to match this door. It just takes a little time and effort. That's issue number one. Well, many issues. But if you notice here, you see how wide it is here? You see how narrow it is here? Maybe a little hard to appreciate. And also, when you're handling the door, you'll notice that the door is pushed in here, and then it sticks out here. The end result of it being too narrow down there, too wide up there, and the door not being plumb, you've got an edge here, and then the edge disappears because it's the door, makes this door impossible to close. Sometimes it closes, sometimes it doesn't. That's one of the issues. A lot of the doors have this problem, but it's my feeling that a good trim carpenter can fix this. It's not a big deal. So issue first is this door should match this door. It is technically an interior door, and interior doors are supposed to match. Also, the door doesn't close or operate correctly. Easily fixed. Now we're looking at a door that goes into the tornado room. Notice it is just like the door I just pointed out in the mudroom. Now, it does not match the interior doors. This is the interior door. What's interesting is they're supposed to match. Now, I will investigate and make sure that I'm correct, but this door should match that door. This is an interior door. You don't get two different styles of interior doors. It's just not the way things are done. Then I'm going to point out the fact that this, once again, see how the door trim, it's hard to appreciate. The door is actually proud of the frame. And as you come down here, the door is no longer proud of the frame. The frame is proud of the door, it's higher. And it goes all the way down to the point where I can actually stick my finger there. And that's a good 1/4 of an inch. It's a big space, it's 3/8 of an inch. So you've got this lip here. It gets thinner and thinner until the door exceeds or is proud of the frame. Well, that gives you the ability to have the door shake. It also doesn't meet industry standards. So the door is out of plumb. It's narrow up there. It's wide down there in terms of the width from the door to the frame. And in addition, the door is not flush with it. That's another issue that needs to be. Now, this is the door in the master bedroom. And notice how it's hard to appreciate, but see, it's not fixed. It's not flush. Hopefully you can hear it and see it. It moves back and forth. So it's out of alignment with the frame. It's same thing here. There's a lip on the frame, and as you go up, that lip disappears because the door is not flush with the frame. You also see this knocking here. Just another thing that can be fixed by a trim carpenter. So once again, same master bedroom door. You see the gap here, and as I drop my finger down, the gap disappears, which is just another example of how the door is not in line with the frame. So that can be fixed by a frame carpenter, trim carpenter. Now this is the door that goes into the master bath. See how wide it is up here? And as you run all your way down, see how it's up against the frame. We have the same issue. Come on in here and notice how the door is proud or raised away from the frame. And if you come down here, the door is lower than the frame. Hopefully it comes across. See how this door isn't fit? correctly, that's a trim carpenter issue. All right, this is the front door. There are a lot of issues here. There's frame damage, but I won't get into that. But notice that these hinges have been painted white and they're rusting. Same thing here, rusting, painted white. Rusting, painted white. Well, these I've been told are what we call construction hinges. They were never intended to be the permanent hinges because this door was replaced a construction door. And that's normal. The door is reasonably well fitted and actually operates pretty well. I haven't had any complaints. But you notice here, this wood is gouged. Well, it was the entrance that a lot of the construction workers came through, which is fine. But Lance, the contractor, thinks that just a little paint will fix this problem. Well, it's already been painted. I didn't buy a damaged door. And then if you look at the hinges here, the ones that I was previously showing that were painted white, we have different screw types. And in fact, we have a screw that isn't there, which goes along with the fact that it's a construction door hinge. And then you can see the frame is all buggered up here. Once again, rusted, painted. So it needs to be taken care of. That's what a trim carpenter does. Finally, if you look at this door, I didn't order this door. The door I ordered has this part missing. It's supposed to be rectangular. Lance, my contractor, ordered the wrong door, or the wrong door was delivered. We don't really know what the truth is because Lance changes his story when I'm around every time. The door was painted this ox blood red, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But I said I don't want a door that has this window because I ordered a door with a window that was half the size. Well, I remember Lance saying that he couldn't get me the right door. In essence, I was stuck with this one. Well, unfortunately, Lance thinks that if he gives me $550, I'll take care of the door. No, there's the installation, the hinges, the trim carpenter. The door's worth $550, but if you add the painting, the hinges, the rusty painted hinges, that's more. But that's the way Lance appears to think, that if he just gives me the door, I'll take care of it, forget the other costs. But that's one of the issues that's remaining. So this is the full light door that goes out onto the potential patio. This door was destroyed because when it was initially installed by Wausau Homes, they failed to put any nails in the nailing fins, which go from here to here on the outside. So the door just self-destructed. So it was replaced correctly by Wausau Windows, not Wausau Homes. But when they installed it correctly, you notice how you see there's this trim piece on the side, and that space is getting wider and wider and wider. Well, that's unacceptable. And what you can't appreciate, but you can feel, is they never insulated or sealed the edge of the door that comes down here. We obviously still have an issue with the flooring because you can tell it's narrow over here and wide over there. So the floor, the vinyl floor, the luxury vinyl plank needs to be fixed. Now, the trim carpenter could come in and replace this panel and make it so it fits correctly. This side's actually fine. This side's fine. This side isn't. So it's not a big deal. It can be done. A good trim carpenter, especially the guy who did it originally, can get it done quickly. Now this shows where this window had to be removed and reinstalled because they didn't install the whole window frame plumb. The end result is there's a minor bit of painting that has to be done. You can hopefully see in the picture, that's not a lot of painting. That's easy to do. And then we have, when they replaced the frame, there's a lot of defects, which just require a little bit of wood putty, some sanding and repainting. That's easy to do. But of course, Lance hasn't done it. You can see all around here, It's minor stuff. It's not a big deal. It can be easily done. But of course, Lance doesn't choose to do that stuff because it's not Lance's style as far as I can tell. Now we come into the master bathroom. If you watched previous videos, you know there's supposed to be a piece of glass here running down so that the water from the shower doesn't go through this opening. This was selected, ready to be installed, but Lance Jochims, Jochims, canceled the installation of the glass. He just canceled it. We got a video and the voice recording from the company, which I will not name since they've got no part in this. They were ready to install it. Well, it's pretty hard to use a shower when half the wall is open because Lance decided he wasn't going to install the glass. Now it's been paid for. It's in the contract. It was ordered, but Lance stopped the installation. A few minor issues here is this was a temporary shower head because this had not yet been installed because the tile hadn't been done. Now, all this needs to be done by the plumber. It's easy to do. It'll take him 10 minutes, 15 at tops, but Lance won't allow that to be done. Now, let's look at some of the nitpicky stuff. You notice there's a missing screw. I could screw that in. Might take 30 seconds. And then we have some holes. Easy to fix. Easy to fix. Paint it. It's great. But Lance won't let that to be done. And then although this sounds petty, it is important to note that if you gave me a small little paintbrush, you notice how the color comes up here and then there's white? Well, this is nicely done. Don't get me wrong. This is the shower. All it needs is a little paint right there. I could do that in, 5 minutes. Easy to do. Give me one of those fine tip paint brushes and the paint, we'll have it done. But Lance won't let him do it. Now, this one's a little harder to appreciate in a video. But realize if you could be here with me, you'd see there's all this brown and tan stuff that's penetrated the spaces in the concrete. This is because it's filthy. There's paint, there's all sorts of stuff. It may be hard to appreciate, but this is damaged concrete in the sense that it's dirty. There's all sorts of schmutz along here, which is a separate issue, but you have concrete that is supposed to be gray, but we've got tan. Is it mud? Is it dirt? Don't know, but Lance thinks that's industry standard. Of course it isn't. It's not the way concrete's supposed to be. It was a product of the construction process. You can also see it here in the main garage. Now, obviously this is just some dirt, but if you come down here, you can see that the concrete has mudding compound in it. Here, it's hard to appreciate in the video. It has paint. And I've actually had a fellow come out and said it would take him 6 hours. He could do this front piece of concrete plus the entire garage. He said he could get it clean, return it back to its original condition, the way it was before the mudders and the painters and everybody else soiled it. But of course, Lance won't do that. Now, this is a minor issue, but this is just trash. You understand, this trash has been sitting here since Lance abandoned the job site 3 months ago. Because it is, oh God, I think it's April 11th now. I mean, July 11th, I'm sorry. So this is trash. Now, Lance took the dumpster away, so everybody had to put their trash here. I mean, there's trash everywhere. You've all seen it, trash over there. And this is stuff that Lance feels is okay. Realize he hasn't been here in 3 months. There's all this dirt, there's all this trash, and this trash is all construction trash. One of the hallmarks that I've discovered about Lance's style is he doesn't clean up as he goes. He expects, from what I can tell, somebody else to clean up the construction trash. Well, he needs to clean up the construction trash because it's part of the contract. It's also part of the Milwaukee Metropolitan Builders Association requirements that the site be clean before the house is considered to be done. Well, it's not clean. The concrete isn't clean, the trash isn't clean, but Lance thinks the house is done. It doesn't matter what the rules say, it's what Lance thinks the rules are. I forgot to mention on the front door, you see this is a threshold protector. It's still there. This is put there in order to protect the threshold on a house that's being built. It's supposed to be removed. It's still there. But remember, Lance thinks the house is done. Now, it's hard to appreciate, but we're actually in the garage. This is the garage. And this is the wall that covers the mechanical room. See if I can get it to focus. I can't. Well, that's all right. It's not painted. Lance thinks the project is done. It doesn't matter that this isn't painted. Lance won't do it because it doesn't fit his idea of done. Now, if I were to go into the attic, that's the door into the attic, you would see, as documented previously, half the insulation isn't there, but Lance paid for the insulation that's not there. He has, from what I can tell from talking to the title company, the lien waivers from the installation company. So as far as they're concerned, they did their job. But what that illustrates is Lance didn't go up and look at the insulation. That's his style. So now when I discovered that there isn't enough insulation, Lance won't fix it. No, because it doesn't exist. Lance is one of those guys, is if he hears no evil, sees no evil, speaks no evil, then it's not a problem. But the insulation needs to be finished up there. It might take him 3 hours to blow in the rest of the insulation. It would take no time at all to paint this, but Lance isn't doing it. All right, this is the door that leaves the garage. And like all the other doors are out of adjustment, this door is proud of the frame. It's a good 3/8, half an inch out from the frame. And as you come down here, you notice how it's now flush with the frame. Well, you can't have the top being proud. Hard to appreciate, but it goes back and forth. And the end result is this door doesn't close well. 1 minute it closes, the next minute it doesn't close. It's very frustrating. And the same thing as we saw on the front door. These are construction hinges. They're rusted, they're beat up. They need to be replaced with new hinges. Lance hasn't done that. Yeah, this door is terrible. And then if you look along the edges of the whole garage, I won't walk you through the whole garage, it's filthy everywhere. I mean, that should be trimmed. It should be clean. And although it's hard to appreciate, this white stuff is paint and mudding compound that's deposited on the floor. Well, it has to be cleaned. Lance hasn't done that. And like I said previously, I've got a guy who will do it for me. Says it'll take him 6 hours. He can do the entire garage. He says he can clean this up, get it all done, but Lance won't do that. The end result is it's filthy. It's my privilege to make my floor filthy, not Lance's. This is not industry standard, but Lance thinks this is industry standard. And this is nitpicky, and I freely admit that, but the guys who painted this couldn't even get the paint where it belongs. They painted the frame, they painted all along here. That's just terrible work. Now, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, I sort of get it. But these are, quote, professional painters who can't get the paint where it belongs. I mean, it's just sloppy work. Everywhere, it's just sloppy work. Lance seems to be okay with that because he hasn't fixed it. Now, this is fairly easy stuff to fix, I think. This is the fiberglass tub in the second bathroom. And of course, this tub was perfect until Lance's workers decided to put a divot in it. I've been told it's pretty easy to fix, but of course, Lance hasn't fixed it. Now you notice how the lights come on in all the drawers. They've been wired. Providing power to all of these drawer lights is in the contract. You come over here, the lights don't come on. because it's not done. Lance told me in writing, not in person, that he doesn't have to do this because it's not in the contract. It's in the contract. Now, this was put in, but they didn't finish the wiring for the power for the drawers. But Lance, in his communications from his attorney, says, oh, no, he's not required to do the wiring here. Well, he is. And the sad thing is, it's in the contract. It's in black and white. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, no questions, but Lance says it isn't. So, has Lance fixed it? Well, of course not. Even though it's in the contract, even though I paid for it, he's refusing to provide the power for these cabinets because, according to Lance, it's not in the contract. So how do you deal with somebody who does such sloppy work? And in my opinion, he'd show up once a week to observe what's going on the site and then doesn't even know what's in the contract. It's amazing. We're back at the front door. Now, there's supposed to be a screen door here. And you can probably tell without me saying it, there's no screen door. It's in the contract. Lance, quote, says that I never told him what screen door to have. Well, anybody who knows me, that the minute I ask the question, I give you an answer. Now, Lance has been asked to prove that, in fact, he asked me about the screen door, but he's willing to give me $350. Well, that doesn't include installation. That's only for the physical door. But Lance refuses to install it. Now, realize, as I've told you, this house was supposed to be done on January 8th, 2021. It's now July 11th. It's a Sunday, might be July 12th, I don't know. And he's 6 months late. He hasn't been on the construction site for 3 months, but Lance feels that he doesn't have to install that door. Why? It's in the contract. Who knows how this man thinks? I don't. So this is a drain in the garage floor. It snows in the Midwest, it gets icy, things melt, etc. You want the water to go someplace. Well, according to Lance, and this is best as I understand his thought process, is that he was not required to install a drain pipe. He can put a drain in, as you saw on the garage floor, but if I understood what he was saying, he wasn't required to install a drain pipe. So there's the house, and here's the pipe he installed as, I guess the best word would be favor. Now, this is a road. Imagine you're plowing snow in the winter, because realize Lance lives in Wisconsin. He knows what snow plows are. He knows what snow is. He knows this is a road, and you're plowing along here, and you can't see that, but the tip of the plow blade hits that and breaks it. According to Lance, he wasn't required to put this pipe in. There's a drain in the floor. Code requirements in Wisconsin requires that a drain have a discharge pipe. So this could be easily solved. You could either shorten the pipe, which would work, or you could put some concrete on either side. They make lots of pavers so that if a plow blade came along, it would come up, miss the pipe, and go down. Lance doesn't feel that's his responsibility because he did me a favor by putting in a pipe that's required by code. How do you deal with somebody who sees the world like Lance does, with his own view on the world? What Lance says is the way the world is. I mentioned Humpty Dumpty, and that's just a classic example of how I think he thinks. If he says that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Words mean exactly what he says they mean. Just like Humpty Dumpty said to Alice in Wonderland, words mean exactly what I say they mean. Nothing less, nothing more. And then you look at all the trash, it's just floating around, which he's not allowed to do by Metropolitan Builders Association. But Lance has his own reality. And I don't know how to deal with people who don't see the world as it is, but see it as they think it is. All right, now we're looking at the storage area on top of the mechanical room. Now this area was built to support storage items. tires, etc. It is not just a surface. Now, one of the requirements of the Metropolitan Builders Association is that everything be left clean. Well, it's not clean. There's mud here, there's dirt. Well, Lance doesn't feel like cleaning it. Cuz, how do I know that? He hasn't done it. Now, obviously, this is not a big deal. I think it's a point of you're supposed to do something. You're supposed to leave the area clean. You're supposed to leave it ready for its intended purpose. And Lance just doesn't figure the rules, as far as I can tell, don't apply to him. You can leave anything you want as dirty as you want. And if you're Lance, you apparently don't feel like you need to clean it. Well, this would take 30 minutes tops with somebody with a scraper. They could clean it up. Or if it was too much trouble, you could lay a 1/2-inch piece of plywood over it. It would be perfect. It's a minor point, but realize this surface was designed from the get-go to store stuff. It's a good, 8 feet wide and about 25 feet long. This is a couple hundred square feet of storage area. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to have my stuff stored. Just another point. All right, we're in the attic. Now you can see the insulation in front where the light is probably about 13 inches deep. The problem is, you see that sort of black pipe back there? It's supposed to be covered with insulation. It's not. And let me remind you that Lance paid for this insulation to be done correctly. Well, it doesn't take much to figure out that it wasn't done. And unless Lance came up here, saw it and said, it's close enough, Lance never actually physically inspected the work. And you can look at it right here and go, wow, there's supposed to be 13 inches of insulation here. That's 7 inches? 7 inches there. So this area wasn't insulated correctly. Now, part of this area in the attic is obviously got enough insulation. But I have been told by all the people who work in this business that insulators will put little markers wherever they insulate, so they know when they've blown in enough. And you would think that a contractor would go, oh, look, there's not enough insulation. I'm not going to pay the guys I paid to insulate this area until they come back and do it right. Now, we're not talking about a lot of insulation, but we're talking about insulation that wasn't done. And Lance paid these people for insulation that wasn't done. This might take, it would take a little time to set up for the insulation, but it might take them a half an hour, 45 minutes to blow this in. And Lance paid them for a job they didn't do. It's amazing. So he either saw that it wasn't done, didn't care, or he didn't come up and look at it, still paid him. Now, some of the areas are adequately insulated. I'm not going to argue that point. Some of the areas aren't. It needs to be fixed. But of course, it hasn't been fixed because we are talking about Lance. And even though this would take 30, 40, 50 minutes tops to fix, Lance has decided for the last 3 months not to do anything. Just an example of what Lance is capable of. So if you do have a home built by Lance Jochims of Waukesha Home Builders, Custom Houses, check your insulation. You may be as surprised as I am. But he hasn't done it. That's Lance's style. Now, it may be not obvious to you, but that's one color, and this is primer. It hasn't been painted. Now, can anybody see it? No. But should it be painted? Yes. Is it painted? No. And why isn't it painted? Because Lance doesn't do what Lance doesn't want to do. We're only 12 months behind on this project. And then if you look over here, you notice that surface? That's the area over the well, where the well sits, the well pump and the well tank. Notice how it's all painted and it's perfectly clean. That's also a storage area. So why wasn't this area done to the same level? Only Lance knows. All right, so a lot of people are going, I've had some comments, and they're legit. I appreciate all comments, that, well, maybe there's a lot to do, and Lance doesn't want to do it because it's just going to be an unending list of complaints and other problems. I'm saying, if someone gave me the money, and I've offered this to Lance, and someone said, hey, here's the money, you get it done, 3 days, 5 days tops. I mean, the biggest delay would be getting people out here to do the work that Lance has not done. The house is 99% done. Well, except for critical things like places to bathe, places to cook. I didn't point out that there's no sink in the kitchen. It's not hooked up. I didn't point out that the Franklin Plumbing Department hasn't completed or signed off on the plumbing permit. Lance somehow thinks that this whole house is done. He's got all the permits done, everything's done. He actually believes that. But if you call the city of Franklin and say, hey, all the permits done, they go, well, no, the plumbing permit hasn't been completed. So I'm not a contractor. Clearly I'm not a contractor. Geez, that's obvious to anybody. The issue is Lance says he's a contractor. I have no reason not to believe him, but he doesn't know that the plumbing permit hasn't been signed off. He apparently doesn't know there's trash everywhere. He doesn't know that doors are out of alignment. It is amazing to me, because I spent my life as a professional, to have someone who claims to be a professional, and I'm not saying he's not a professional, don't get me wrong, he may be the world's best contractor, but for me it's been nothing but a disappointment. And things were going fine initially, and then Lance just decided to take his toys and go home because he wasn't getting his way. He wanted that fourth and final payment back in March, and I said no. I had the nerve to say no. My God, I can't believe it. I supported the industry standard, which is if the job isn't done, you don't get the fourth and final payment. But to my credit, I said, listen, you need money? I'll get you the money. We'll get this job done. But instead of saying, hey, yeah, you're right, I'm running a little short on cash, if that was the situation, let's get the job done. Cut me a check. We'll take it out of the fourth and final payment. We'll get this house done. No harm, no foul. Lance just leaves. He's been gone for 90 days. He hasn't visited the job site. The job site is still littered with trash. And he expects to be paid for having a house that isn't done. People who know me know that this stuff drives me crazy. Do what you say you're going to do. Be a person of integrity. Honor your word. Honor the contract. Do what needs to be done. Now, I could get it if I needed a wall moved, if there was thousands of hours worth of labor that needed to be done in this place, I would get that Lance might be a little annoyed. Or if I had a punch list, which was 65 pages, I could see that Lance could be a little annoyed. He hasn't shown up for 3 months. Come on. Unless I'm wrong, I haven't pointed out a lot of big issues. You know, a little electricity, some glass, get a trim carpenter here to adjust the doors, a little paint. I mean, these are not big issues. Get the kitchen sink done, clean the floor, the concrete. I've even told Lance I've got a guy who will do it, but he's doing nothing. And that's why I say, for me personally, it comes across as someone is being a bully. That somehow if they don't finish the job, I will eventually say, Uncle, give in, give him the money, and I will never see him again. I will get to fix all these issues. Because realize, these issues have been here for months, and Lance refuses to do it. So I ask you, if I had given the fourth and final payment, what makes anyone think that he would ever show up to finish it? I don't have any reason to believe that. Past performance is, in this case, an indicator of future performance. He's just not willing to do what he's promised to do in writing, verbally. I think he's in breach of contract. That's my feeling. And I don't see how it enhances his reputation. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about it other than the way I do. What does Lance expect to get out of refusing to finish the house? And realize he's offered no one a reason to why he quit working 3 months ago. He hasn't come up to me, hasn't, as far as I know, he hasn't come up to his attorney, he hasn't come up to my attorney and said, the reason I'm not finishing the house is X, Y, and Z. Because part of being an adult is saying, let's see if we can work this out. That's not Lance's style. Like I said, he got butt hurt. He got his feelings hurt. So the end result is he's just not going to play anymore. And that's why it comes across as a bully. He thinks, I believe he thinks, I'm speculating that he thinks, that if he just ignores the job, I will eventually say, I've got to move in, I've got to move in, I've got to have a place to live. I've been in an apartment for 2.5 years. Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. It isn't going to happen. Could I finish this house on my own? I could finish it tomorrow. But I can't do that. Wisconsin law, contract law, and the contract prohibit me from doing that. And the minute I start fixing a problem, I have assumed the house is done. I cannot be the contractor on this project. I could, realistically. I mean, what does it take to clean up the trash? Well, if you had a dumpster, which of course there is no dumpster, it would take 3 minutes to clean up the trash, maybe 5 if I felt like slow walking it. No, I'm disappointed with Lance. Genuinely disappointed. And it's obvious I'm disappointed. God, I've made it very clear. And once again, if someone said, would I have Lance be my contractor, given what I know now, no fricking way. And I'm sorry, I'm not bad-mouthing him. I'm just telling you how I feel based upon his performance. I don't dislike the man. Don't hold him any ill will. He is just not willing to do what he has been paid to do. So I think I've said enough. I'll let you go. I really appreciate you listening to this. It is always good for me, like I've said before, to document what's going on. Now, everybody thinks this house is lived in because look at all these cars. They literally, I had one person thought that there was some sort of card game going on and somebody else had shown up. Well, I move these cars around all the time and it does protect the house. People actually think someone's living here because who would have all these cars being moved around? Well, it definitely creates a great illusion. So I love you all. Talk to you later. Bye.